Now, back to Bowl Game Radio with Bruce Binkowski and Mark Neville on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
And welcome back to our final segment of Bowl Game Radio on the mighty 1090 and the San Diego Bowl Game Media Network. Bowl Game Radio is brought to you in part by National University. Accommodate your busy schedule, your life, your university, National University. And San Diego County Credit Union. It's not big bank banking, it's better.
This half hour, we've been talking about the National University Holiday Bowl, Monday, December the 30th. Qualcomm Stadium, 7:15 p.m. kickoff. We just learned all about Texas Tech Red Raiders. Now it's time to learn about the Arizona State Sun Devils.
That's right. We got the Sun Devils coming to town, 10-3. South Division champions of the Pac-12 Conference, a number 14 ranking in the BCS. And we're very pleased to have joining us now the radio voice of Sun Devils football, Tim Healey. Tim, welcome to the program. You're on with Bruce Binkowski and Mark Neville.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Very well, Tim. Now, I'm Bruce Binkowski. I've been with this game for 36 years now, and it says here you have covered 5 Holiday Bowl games, 3 with Arizona State. Now, if memory serves me, if that's correct, you were here in 1985. Is that correct?
Yes, I covered the 1985 game. I was a longtime television sports anchor in Phoenix and covered the 1985 Arizona State-Arkansas game. In fact, I remember the final score, 18-17 Arkansas.
You're absolutely correct.
And then the irony of ironies is that my first year as the radio voice of the Sun Devils was the 1998-99 school year, and not long after I completed my football season, my inaugural football season as the voice of the Sun Devils, I then had to revert back to my television duties and come over and cover the arch-rival Arizona Wildcats in the Holiday Bowl against Nebraska. And I think the final score of that game was 24-20 Arizona. And then I broadcast the 2002 Holiday Bowl when the Sun Devils, as the biggest underdog in that year's bowl season, I think they were something like nearly a 3-touchdown underdog to one of Bill Snyder's outstanding Kansas State teams, and yet K-State needed a touchdown in the final minute, I think, to beat the Sun Devils 27-20. And then we were there for the Holiday Bowl in 2007 when Texas beat ASU. So, yeah, this will be my 5th, and as I told your colleague Susan Reed by email, I've been to a lot of different bowl games, and it's one of the best bowls and one of the most enjoyable experiences. In fact, to tell you the truth, my first experience with your bowl, Bruce, I was a TV sportscaster in Dallas in the early 1980s and watched late night on television back in Dallas while anchoring that night's sports when SMU played Brigham Young in that miraculous finish orchestrated by Jim McMahon and the Hail Mary touchdown pass to win the game on the final play of the game against SMU, I think, in December of 1980. So I go back a long ways with this game and some thrilling memories from Holiday Bowls past.
You do, and since you were here in 80, you covered the game in 80 and in 1985, I'm the one that gave you your press credentials, so you owe me when you get into town, maybe, dinner or something like that.
Wait a second, they lost.
Well, that's true.
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe I'll cover the appetizer for dinner.
There you go.
But just for the record, in 2002 and 2007, it was me that gave you your credentials. So
yes, well, we're hopeful that the Sun Devils' luck will turn out a little bit better in this year's bowl game because Arizona State's bringing a pretty good football team over to San Diego for the Holiday Bowl. Obviously disappointed at the outcome of the Pac-12 championship game last week, but I got news for you. Stanford is really, really good and really big and physical and tough and just not a really great matchup for ASU. The Sun Devils, the only games they lost to a Pac-12 opponent this year were their 2 games against Stanford. So Stanford deserves to be in the Rose Bowl, deserves to be in a BCS bowl game, and the Sun Devils, I think, are very happy to come over to San Diego and play in the Holiday Bowl and hopefully get back on a winning track the day before New Year's Eve.
Now, Arizona State has had a great season, and they're coming into the National University Holiday Bowl with a 10-3 mark. And you said they lost to Stanford, but do you think their attitude is going to be positive as they head into San Diego?
I think so. I think the 3 or 4 weeks to prep for the game will heal some of the wounds, and my own personal feeling is if that was a woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of game last week, the hurt of the loss might linger longer. But Stanford was clearly the better team, and my feeling is you just tip your cap to them, say, "Well done, fellas. Enjoy your time at the Rose Bowl, and we're going to prep like crazy to win the Holiday Bowl game against Texas Tech." And I think the Sun Devils will be in a good frame of mind. Coach Graham and his staff did a great job last year preparing their team for their Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl game against Navy, and they went up there and beat the Navy 62-28. And I think he'll have his team well prepared for this game, and it's going to be the final game for a really outstanding group of Sun Devil seniors, led by the two-time Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, Will Sutton, and I think they're going to want to go out in style. And of course, the game being in San Diego, so many of our players are from California and from Southern California that they're definitely going to want to make a good showing in their home state.
So Arizona State in the National University Holiday Bowl right now is a record of 0-3. Looking to get their first win here in San Diego in the bowl game. What do you think will need to happen for Arizona State to get that done?
Well, they've played pretty well all year. That game against Stanford interrupted a 7-game winning streak, and the Sun Devils were really playing well on both sides of the ball. Their offense averages over 40 points a game. Defensively, they really came on the last month and a half of the season. They got much better defending the run. They're a big play defense. They force turnovers. I think they've intercepted 21 passes this year. They were tied for the national lead as of last week with 5 interception runbacks for touchdowns. I think they've played pretty solidly, the Stanford game notwithstanding, on both sides of the ball. I think 2 things I would bring up. Number 1 will be the availability of Marion Grice, their outstanding senior running back, who finished the regular season 4 yards shy of 1,000 for the year and was the national scoring leader for a good part of the season, having scored 20 touchdowns on the year. Marion was injured, suffered a lower leg injury in the UCLA game, November 23rd, I think it was, or I think it was the 23rd, yeah. And he did not play the last 2 games of the season. And his availability for the bowl game is a question mark right now, but I know there is hope that he will be healthy to play. And then another thing to keep an eye out for is the one area that really hurt the Sun Devils at times this year was their special teams. They had several games where their special teams did not perform well, and last week's Stanford game was one of those. So that's going to be a big key, and Coach Graham spends a lot of time on special teams and his practices, and that'll be something to keep an eye out for. And, of course, Texas Tech is one of the top passing offenses in the country. But interestingly, the Sun Devils in the last 2 years have twice played Washington State teams coached by Mike Leach, of course, who spent so many years installing that great passing attack at Texas Tech. And I'm sure it's somewhat different than when Coach Leach was there. But ASU has had pretty good success in the 2 years, so they've played Mike Leach's teams, having beaten Washington State. So that perhaps may bode well for them in this game. But you start from scratch in the bowl game, and it's going to be interesting because you got 2 teams going in opposite directions. Texas Tech won their first 7, lost their last 5. Arizona State, in contrast, won 7 of their last 8. So we'll see if those arcs continue to trend the way they were at the end of the season come the bowl game.
Tim Healey, voice of Arizona State football, thanks for joining us. We're up against the clock, so thank you so much for giving us that insight on Arizona State football, and we'll see you in about 3 weeks.
Sounds good, Bruce and Mark. Appreciate it.
All right, and the National University Holiday Bowl, Monday, December the 30th, Qualcomm Stadium, Texas Tech and Arizona State.
And we're out of here, Bruce. We'll be back next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. You've been listening to Bowl Game Radio on the Mighty 1090.